Good morning. Good
Good
morning,
morning. How are
everybody.
you?
It's Focus Friday. And I don't know, what's the date? October 20th.
20.
October 20th. And before I get kicked, before I kick off, I think Marnie's on here. Marnie, congratulations on your big award. It is a real honor that you were selected, and we are very proud of you for being a Coldwell Banker Woman on the Move. I think she's on here. Somebody help me.
Yep.
Yes.
She just said thank you.
Oh, good, good, good. Awesome. I have to find my little chat bar. Oh,
Mhm.
there it is. Yeah. So Marnie, congratulations. Kenan, let's talk a little bit about Gen Blue. I got to
Oh,
see a lot of
man.
great social media posts and tell us about it.
Well, this was my first Gin Blue, and I cannot say enough about this. So, first off, so before I was an MD, I was a full production agent, just like all of you. I cannot tell you the value that you will get out of this for your business. It is worth every penny. It's an investment into your business. The amount of education, just the market leaders that are there providing you the best and up-to-date information on how to improve your business and different things that you can do. I can't tell you how valuable that was. So next year, please invest in it. Please go. It'll be worth every single penny.
And on top of that, you get it's always at a city that maybe you don't know something about. What was your favorite part about Atlanta?
Atlanta was cool. So this was my first time to Atlanta. My least favorite part was their airport. I can tell you that. Apparently, I think it's the biggest airport in the United States, but it was absolutely nuts. But Atlanta, it was a nice downtown area. They had these cool sky bridges that you could go from each hotel all the way to the conference. You didn't even have to go outside. Really neat. Just a beautiful city. Great restaurants, great people. Obviously, the weather was phenomenal. First day it was a little chilly, but then the rest of the time we were there, it was absolutely perfect.
And
Uh,
chili, you mean what? 50s, 60s?
the first day I think it was in the 50s, but I think it was in the 60s and 70s the other 2 days. So
Awesome. I believe I'm supposed to ask you about your workout with your team. How'd that go? There's a
I
little
didn't
story there.
I didn't show up.
Oh,
I did show up, but so they got there at 6 a.m. I hadn't slept very well the few nights before, so I slept for an extra hour, and I got there maybe 30 minutes after they did. I'm still catching grief for it, so let's just move on. the there were several of the guys that showed up and they did a workout. I think Jimmy Klieger put it on for them. If you know Jimmy, that workout probably wasn't for the faint of heart, but probably a great way to start your day for sure.
awesome. All right. So let's get to business, Kenan.
Sure.
Last week, Casey Steen, and I know Casey's on here. So if we go astray or whatever, I know she'll chime in and she'll just have to tell me if we need to add her to the panel to set
Sure.
us straight. Right,
Yeah.
Casey Killjoy? That's what she said that we sometimes call her when she brings in these stories. But and our topic today is let's talk about how to talk about the lawsuit.
Sure.
But
Absolutely.
let's be honest, Kenan, do you really think that we're going to get a question as agents when we sit down with Mr. Seller or Mr. Buyer?
You know, let's all be honest here. Most consumers are pretty clueless to this, I think, personally. If you do get the question about it, I don't think it's going to be the norm. But I think you do kind of have to have something in your back pocket to be able to combat those questions and make sure you're giving your sellers and your buyers the best information possible. But in all reality, I don't think you're probably going to get this question very often, but you do need to be prepared for it.
So I put up a poll and it said, I am concerned about how much the lawsuit will affect my business. It's 4% said what lawsuit? I wonder who those people were.
Yeah.
They weren't listening to Casey, and it was really great. Casey did an awesome job of explaining it to us. And then it's 50% say no, 46% yes. So it's kind of half and half. I want to just quickly summarize what this lawsuit is about, just as a little refresher. All right. Because I know a lot of you, if you were at Gen Blue, it was a long week. So here's your little refresher. The lawsuit claims that NAR and others participated in anti-competitive practices by forcing the seller into a system where they pay a commission that is split between buyers and sellers' agents. How evil. The plaintiffs believe that this system has led to inflated buyer agent fees to the detriment of home sellers, and that home buyers should pay for their own agents. Now, the NAR and other defendants, which we were, counter that the current system provides transparency and market-driven pricing options for home buyers and sellers, according to the NAR. Yeah, I was being a little sarcastic. Maybe I didn't pull that off about what the lawsuit claims, because to me, it just seems like maybe some really wealthy sellers who are also attorneys, sorry, Casey, just wanted to raise some hell and get famous for something. So, all right, we're going to not focus on the lawsuit so much, but talking about how to show value and setting expectations with our clients. That's what, when you and I were talking earlier, Kenan, that's what you said. It just boils down to that. Yeah. And we want to do that so that when it comes down to how much we get paid as agents, that's not an issue. So, do you want to talk about buyers or sellers first?
I've got a little bit that I'd love to talk about here. So first and foremost, this was kind of sprung on me fairly quickly. So I frantically put all my notes down. So if you see me staring down at my notes quite frequently, please don't judge me. But I do have some really great information for you guys today. Please get a pen and paper. There's going to be some value in this today for sure. The first thing I wanted to talk about is what should you be telling your sellers about the lawsuit, right? If it does come up, you want to be transparent, you want to give them good information, but you want to make sure you do not provide legal advice. Okay. I know you've probably heard it 1,000 times, but we don't want to get sued. Okay. If they have a legal question, you direct them to an attorney every single time. But you can briefly explain the lawsuit. Let them know that the lawsuit it's not done yet. It was filed against the NAR and in some of the brokerages that are part of NAR. You can emphasize that the lawsuit's still ongoing. This means that the outcome and the potential impact on the real estate industry is uncertain. Right? That's a great response when somebody actually asks about the lawsuit. You can discuss some of the potential implications. What did you just put up on? Did you put another poll up?
Oh, I put another poll up. Bits for later.
Sure. Well, I'm going to exit it off. There it is.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry.
No worries. No worries. Again, suggest that they seek legal advice on it if they do have legal concerns about the whole thing. And you can provide resources for further information. This can be official court documents, news articles, or NAR's official statements on the matter. But it's crucial for you guys to remain neutral when it comes to this lawsuit. Be unbiased when discussing the legal matters and avoid making any speculative statements about the outcome of the lawsuit. I hope that's crystal clear. But that's kind of what you should maybe be saying if they ask you about the lawsuit. That make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, Todd says he does have something to say on this. Todd, do you want me to promote you as panelist? You want to join?
Bring it on, Todd.
I'm looking for you, Todd. Just a minute. Oh, there you are. Okay. There we go. We can promote Todd to panelist.
How do we promote Todd? I thought he was at the top already.
There we go. Oh, here he comes.
Oh, I got promoted. That's great. Holy smokes. Are you serious? Hey, before anybody be in my car, but full time. Start time for 3 weeks.
Hey, Todd, you are breaking up.
You're super spotty.
Oh.
Try it again.
How about now?
That's good.
How about now? All right. What's up, dude? Hey, KT.
What's going on, Mr. Conklin?
Did you share it with everybody about our work?
I know what you just said. You're breaking up, which is fantastic. But I let everybody know that I was a little late. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us. Very kind of you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I will
Mm,
say, Kenan, you were right. Texas is ranked number whatever one ahead of Alabama
yeah.
for a minute. So,
Well,
but
you still owe
then
me
again,
20 bucks for that loss in Tuscaloosa,
yeah,
so
I know.
we can bring
That's
that
right.
up sometime.
All right. Okay. There we go. Hey, listen, while Kenan is delivering the message, which needs to be delivered, and he's definitely right, it's the right message. My take is just a little bit different from a practicality standpoint. I want to make sure that you guys hear from our perspective, not the legal perspective, right? Casey would kill me. But this whole thing is a big sham. Okay, I don't know, like I don't know if you saw the quote unquote consumer that testified yesterday. This is all a huge scam. Anybody who's ever been in the real estate business for more than 12 seconds knows that anytime you incentivize buyers to go direct to a listing agent, it's bad for the buyer, it's bad for the seller, it's only good for one person, and that is the agent. And it's only good for the agent financially. It's not good for the agent legally. And so you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, how is it that this thing was framed as some kind of a consumer benefit? We are out there fighting for the consumer, and the evil real estate agent is forcing people to pay for both sides. What in the world is this, guys, gals? It's the Zillows of the world, right? You understand that their whole goal is to get you out of the business. The way they get you out of the business is to make it so that it seems like it's perfectly ordinary, it's standard operating procedure, it's the way it should be, that you should go to an online portal. You should be able to identify a property that you want from the national MLS. You should be able to use artificial intelligence to fill out purchase and sale agreements. Part of the process to list your property on Zillow will include an inspection. Like, all of this stuff will be completely done without a real estate agent. That makes perfect sense. Now, I understand that the National Association of Realtors has got their head up their wazoo, and they're not defending us. They're not working for us to protect us. But that's a whole different debate and a whole different argument. Truthfully, this entire lawsuit, and there'll be countless to come, is all a sham trying to disguise the Zillows of the world from circumventing real estate agents. So you do need to stand up, and you do need to know what this means. And yet, to Kenan's point, and Kenan's 100% correct, you've got to you can't cross the line. But behind the scenes, behind the curtain, I wanted to make sure that we all knew what was going on.
Thank you, Todd.
Yep, that was
My
good.
pleasure.
Okay.
All right. So let's keep on moving on. So the next thing I want to talk about, sorry, just again reading over my notes. Give me some.
That's
Give me
okay.
some
Well,
flow.
you were talking about how we just need to stay neutral. Don't talk about the
Correct.
legalities of it.
Yep.
And can we move on to sellers? And maybe one question our sellers will say, do I need to offer a buyer's agent commission? Does that
Sure.
help get you on?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a couple of things that I want to touch on briefly just before that, okay? Because that is going to
Okay.
be the meat and potatoes of what we talk about. The second thing that I wanted to discuss is setting expectations, okay? I think this is very important for all of you. If you've been in the business a long time, this is probably old news, but if you haven't, setting expectations from the get-go. You need to have that sit down with your people, and you need to tell them, the pitfalls, the things that can happen. If you're in a seller's market and you're working with a buyer, explain to them it's a seller's market. If you go into that and they lose out on the first 3 offers, which is kind of the norm in that market, but they didn't know that, who are they going to blame? You, 100% you. So you need to set expectations from the get-go with your buyers and sellers, okay? And that you obviously have to have good market knowledge to be able to do that, but we should have good market knowledge. We're all professionals in this business, right? The other thing that I wanted to talk about is your value proposition. So every one of you should have an elevator pitch for your sellers. Why do I deserve this commission? Does everybody have that? Just to take just a couple of minutes for you to briefly explain why you deserve your commission. So a few things that I kind of wrote down. As your realtor, I provide a comprehensive range of services. And one of those is going to be market knowledge, obviously. I have an in-depth understanding of the local markets and trends and pricing strategies and neighborhood dynamics. You have an extensive network. This actually goes even further because you're a Coldwell Banker agent, okay? But you have an extensive network of potential buyers, fellow realtors, and industry professionals, and you're going to leverage those connections to market the property effectively, ensuring maximum exposure and reaching qualified buyers. I'll send all of my notes over to Sarah so that we can actually get all that out to you guys so you can have this as well. Next would be your negotiation skills. For most markets, there is an actual accreditation for a negotiator, right? Go get that. Get those letters next to your name, okay? It just goes into your value proposition, right? Marketing expertise. Okay, we're actually a little bit ahead of the game, in my opinion, for marketing. Okay, I've been a part of 4 different brokerages before I was a part of Distinctive Properties. None of them offered the extent of marketing that we do. Okay, also as an MD, I have conversations with agents from a range of brokerages in this town. Okay, probably have had a conversation with pretty much one agent from every brokerage in this town. And one of those questions I always ask is, what are you doing to market listings? Right? What are you doing? And here's the answer I get. Well, I'm going to put it on the MLS. It's going to get syndicated to realtor.com and Zillow and all those other sites. And then I'm going to put it on Facebook. That's it. 95% of them. That is it. Okay. So when you're walking into that listing presentation, make sure you have that marketing package. Okay. They don't have to know that we're subsidizing 70+% of that marketing package for you. Okay. But they will know I'm going to be spending thousands of dollars to market your house. No one else is going to do that. Okay. That is going to help you win listings, I think, above and beyond anything else that we offer, to be honest with you. Time and convenience. Selling a property involves numerous time-consuming tasks, from staging the home to paperwork and negotiations. By hiring me, I will save your valuable time and energy so that you can focus on your next move, right? Guidance and support, and communication. I think that's a real big one for you guys, okay? Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes, all right? So, how can you justify asking your seller to pay a buyer's agent commission? It's a great question, right? I think market norms is something you should kind of touch on. You want to be careful that you're not giving legal advice in this as well. But explain that in many real estate transactions, it's customary. It really is. It's what we've come accustomed to do, and it helps with the market moving along. Most buyers don't have an extra 10, 12, 15, 20 grand to pay a buyer's agent, right? Increased exposure. This is a big one, and I do want to kind of touch on this. So as a buyer's agent, you do have a fiduciary duty to your client, right? To do what is best for them, not what is best for you. Unfortunately, there are a large handful of buyer's agents that are not going to show a house that doesn't offer buyer agent commission, right? Even if it fits their buyer's criteria. They're not going to do it, which is a massive violation of our code of ethics. Don't get me wrong, but it's a conversation you need to have with your sellers. If you don't offer buyer compensation, there's a good chance that your exposure is going to be significantly less because buyer agents are not going to show the home, and that's pretty much the conversation you need to have.
Can we just let me jump in here, because I think all of us have that brokerage in our marketplace that doesn't offer. They say that they don't cooperate, right? And so we know how that goes. Just to spell it out, if you need to put that into reality, if my buyer says, hey, I want to go show, or I want to go see a next generation, usually you're just like, all right, because we know that it's hard to work with them.
What's next generation? Sorry.
Oh, next generation is a flat fee broker, and they say that they don't work with agents, and
really?
They make it really difficult for us. We all want the same goal, right? We all we want people to sell their home, buy their home, but when they just make it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, and I mean you're gonna run into that. I think it's probably going to become increasingly more, to be honest with you. But I think that obviously goes into so we have a buyer representation agreement. When you're sitting down with your buyer, again, setting expectations. You know, that buyer agency agreement says that I am going to be compensated this much. Okay. And if the seller is not willing to pay it, it is going to be on you as a buyer to pay me. You need to set that expectation up from the very beginning, and you have a legal document with that buyer to show that. So if you're showing a house, or if you have a home that maybe fits that criteria of your buyer, before you go show it to them, let them know this seller is not offering compensation. So this will be a responsibility of you to make sure that I am compensated for my work, right?
The buyer, oh, this is Todd. The buyer assessment proven process covers this. Ask Vicky
Yep.
Beveridge. I don't know. I can see if Vicky's on here, but otherwise we might have to ask her
Sure.
about
Bring
that.
her on. Panel
Yeah.
her up. I love it.
I don't believe that I see her. So
Um,
anyway, back to the sellers. Like sort of send
no,
us
you're
in the
good.
direction.
Not a problem. So the question is, you know, how do you justify asking a seller to compensate a buyer's agent? And the third thing that I have on here is you have a competitive advantage if you offer buyer compensation. You want to highlight that covering a buyer's commission, your property stands out among other listings that may not offer the same incentive. And this is going to give you a competitive advantage in a market, and make your property more appealing to buyers and their agents always. Okay, so competitive advantage. Streamlined transaction. That was the next one I came up with. So explain to your seller that by including the buyer's commission in the listing agreement, you're simplifying the transaction process for the buyer, right? They won't have to worry about negotiating or paying their agent's commission separately, which can make your property more attractive and potentially lead to a smoother transaction. Okay, just make everybody's life easier, essentially. The next thing that I have is flexibility in negotiations, right? You want to mention to your seller that by offering to pay the buyer's commission, you may have more flexibility in negotiating the final sales price. Buyers may be more willing to consider your asking price or negotiate favorable terms, knowing that their agent's commission is covered. Okay, that's a big one. Professional representation. So obviously, as Todd said, you know, whenever you don't have buyer agency, it's not good, right? It doesn't turn out well for anybody, right? And so you want to emphasize to your seller the value of having a buyer's agent involved in the transaction. Okay, one, their client's getting obviously professional assistance, an advocate for them, and you know, by paying their commission, you're ensuring that the buyer has professional representation throughout the process, which can lead to a more informed and successful transaction for all parties. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
I think if I was a seller, I would be like, sweet, you've convinced me, Kenan. Great job.
so the six that I have, market norms, increased exposure, competitive advantage, streamlined transaction, flexibility in negotiations, and professional representation. Okay, those would be the 6 points that I would touch on if I was trying to justify offering compensation to a buyer's agent.
Awesome.
Does anybody have any questions on any of that?
Casey has something that she wants us to state in here when we're talking about buyer representation. And then Jennifer Coulson says that it's in the agency agreement and company policy to check seller may pay, buyers obligated to pay. I may need more explanation on that because I am not in her marketplace.
Yeah, that's my.
So we'll see if someone else can chime in on that. It's in Colorado. Thank you, Jennifer. So we may need Jens or Jimmy.
So I can't touch on that, but it looks like Michael posted a question in here. So his understanding is that anywhere is already settled, with the plaintiffs. So the new normal has already been determined. Yes, but I think a big part of that and what I kind of took away from Gen Blue, we settled because it actually would have been cheaper, I think, in the end. Also, they're basically covering our asses. It's settled, so all of you guys are fine, right? They can't come after you now. All right. We admitted no wrongdoing by settling, but I think the attorney's fees dragging this out would have actually cost us significantly more. That's my comment for you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And Casey went over the things that in our settlement that they are requiring us to do. I know the top 3 ones we already have been doing in our marketplace. So, and as a company, we have those policies, and the other things will get worked out. So, and we can always address those things in the new year, because I believe that Casey said these are the requirements. However, we have a certain amount of time to implement. And when Casey went over them, I was like, oh, well, these are not life-changing things. So, Casey did say the cost of litigation is high, which is why we see settlements often in this type of scenario. Yeah, very good.
That's what I was
All right, so let's take it over to the buyer side. It is 10:26, Kenan, and we don't want to keep people much longer than 10:30 or 9:30. So how do we explain to our buyers how we get paid? We know from the settlement that, and just from the code of ethics, that we can't say that my services
never say it's free. That's what you're going to say, right? I cannot emphasize to you enough, when you are speaking with a buyer, you never say my services are free. You can have the conversation with them about how you get paid and the norm of how you get paid. Normally, I will be compensated by the seller, but you absolutely cannot say I work for free. Okay. Your justifications as far as asking for compensation are going to be very similar, I think, to the seller. Having a trusted advocate that is a market expert, I think most certainly is going to be conducive for the buyer's outcome, of course. When you're working with a buyer, explain to them, about the contractual efforts that you have to go through to get jobs done, and your negotiation power. Again, go get that accreditation. But your value proposition is going to be very similar for the buyer as it is to the seller. Okay. And again, I'll send you over that whole thing that I wrote out about value proposition. I'll make sure that each one of you all gets it. They'll make it all pretty for you, because it's not going to be pretty when I send it to her. But yeah, you'll have all that information and everything that I talked about today. So you guys are fully prepared, and your tool belt's completely full when you're going into these situations. Okay.
And we'll get it pretty, and we'll get it in this week at Distinctive.
Love
How
it.
about that? How's that sound as a plan?
That
Thank you
sounds
to
like
the
a plan.
marketing team. Let's say, okay, so Jennifer wanted to say it's 7.1.3 in the Colorado agency agreement. So all of you Colorado, turn that around, Kenan. Casey also wanted to say, or she said some things about the buyer representation agreement. Be aware that this document can vary in different markets. So read your agreements. Many states, the buyer representation agreement includes compensation for the buyer's agent, but you must complete the agreement in full to ensure you are compensated. And in Iowa, you must use the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. Thank you very much, Casey. And I guess thank you to everyone. I want to put in a plug for something coming up next Tuesday, and it is the Power of One More agent panel with some agents who have defied the market in 2023. I believe in this week at Distinctive, we're going to tell you who those agents are, but it's this coming Tuesday, October 24th, starts at 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. And then guess what? Next week, our Focus Friday, and for the next 4 weeks, is going to be focused on our business planning workshop. So Todd is going to kick it off. Then we'll have Jimmy. And then on November 3rd, I think we have you, Kenan, who's going to talk about scheduling it up.
Yep.
Or
we're building
the perfect schedule.
We're going to get real honest and we might hurt some feelings, but
Ooh,
it's going to be really good.
I love hashtag truth. Woohoo!
Yep.
You're gonna get it. And that's sometimes what we need to be held accountable.
Exactly.
So we've got a lot of awesome stuff coming up besides our business planning. We have the power of one more next Tuesday. And then the week after that is Halloween and the spooky legal cases with Casey Steen. So a lot of awesome stuff going on. Kenan, thank you so much for filling
course.
in. I know you had a busy week. Todd, thank you for sharing with us just exactly what it is and sharing some truth there. Casey, thank you for also being here to make sure that we stay legal. Everyone else, have a great, great weekend. And that's it for Focus Friday.
Have a great day, you guys.